Hi guys, good morning and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Mandy. You can find me on the internet as Mandy Von Knits on Instagram and Ravelry. I live in southeastern Michigan. I am 39 years old. I am a knitter and a crocheter and a general crafter. I machine knit. I love everything related to yarn. So if you like to talk about yarn and patterns and different things you're working on and just all of the things involving fiber art, stick around. I would love to have you. First things first, it is a beautiful day here in southeastern Michigan. So I am filming this and it is August 2nd. So happy August, you guys. We made it and summer is going to start wrapping down soon, at least here in this hemisphere. For those of you who are going to be bringing down winter and going into summer, yay, I'm excited for you. I'm less excited for us, but you know, we'll get there. It'll happen. We'll go right through it and it'll be good. So anyways, summer is starting to wrap down here. We're starting to talk about going back to school and all of the stuff. So you guys will have to let me know what your main focuses right now for crafting are. Are you working on hats for kiddos going back to school, gloves, scarves, things like that? Are you looking to make some winter knits? Or do you guys like work on your winter knits all during the summer and then vice versa for the winter? I am kind of a mixed bag. I just tend to work on things as I feel like them. So it could be the middle of July, and if I want to just pull out a worsted weight sweater and work on it, or an air weight, bulky weight, that's what I'm gonna do because I feel like it. I'm just like I go where the wind blows. So let me know down below what you guys are going to be working on for the upcoming season. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about admin. So if you're new here, welcome. I'm super happy that you're here. Every podcast, I give away a digital pattern. The way that you enter, you just leave a comment down below and then come back next week and see if your name got drawn. If your name gets drawn, you can reach out to me on either Ravelry or Instagram as Mandy Von Knits. Let me know what pattern price that you want, and then I will go ahead and gift it to you. It's that simple. The only rules are that the pattern price has to be 15 USD or under, and you can only win once a month. That's just to make it fair for everybody. Okay, with all of that rigmarole, geez, I'm using different words today, so okay, with all of that said, we are going to leave a blank spot right here. And if that was your name, like I said, just reach out to me on Instagram or Ravelry as Mandy Von Knits and let me know what pattern prize that you want, and I will go ahead and gift it to you. If you don't use Ravelry for whatever reason, just reach out to me, let me know. We can figure out how to get you your digital price on a different platform. Okay, now let's talk. Let's talk first about what I'm wearing, because if you are a longtime viewer of the podcast, you'll notice I am wearing my hipster top. Is it top or tee? You know, I always screw it up, and I did it as I was working on it as well. So last year I went to Fiber Optic Yarn and I picked out two beautiful purples. It was, I believe, ultraviolet purple and ultraviolet and violet, I believe. And I'm gonna put the color names down below so that way I don't misspeak. But I took those two colors and I made this hipster top. And this top is from Joji Locatelli, and it is knit with fingering weight yarn. And this base is merino cashmere nylon. It is their cashmere base. And I I love it. It's super soft. It's super comfy. And I like it. It's like a summer, it's a lightweight top, and it doesn't have much in the way of sleeves. And I tend to distance myself away from the sleeveless tops just because I'm not big about wearing them. I always like at least something, maybe like a sleeve like that, but I do like this one. And you know, if you've ever made the hipster shawl, you'll recognize these. They were a pain to make. They took, you know what, Hohi, and I'm just gonna babble on today for a minute. So Hohi Locatelli has an awesome YouTube tutorial that explained very well how to make these. So I had issues doing them at first. Then I went to YouTube, I found her video, she walked me through it step by step, and I got it. And then I went to the bottom right here and I added more instead of ribbing because I didn't want to do like the garter stitch border or ribbing, so I went ahead and did it that way. I thought that it was just a little extra thing that I thought made it look really nice. But that's pretty much the gist of this top. I did like making it. It didn't take too long, so if you're looking for like a kind of quick, lightweight top that is really easy to wear and very comfy, I would recommend the pattern. I am partial towards Hohi Locatelli's patterns. I do tend to make them a little bit. I have been kind of trying to broaden my horizons with different designers because I love to see new patterns, try new constructions and things like that. But I do tend to go back to her patterns, especially because her Hohi Locatelli knit along is coming up. When is it? I believe it's probably going to start September 1st if she has it this year. I haven't seen anything about it. So if you guys have seen anything about it, let me know down below in the comments. I will have to take a look and see. I try to at least do maybe one pattern-ish at least during the time, because the knit along usually runs from September to I think November 31st. But okay, we're done talking about the top. It was very fun to make though. So I do have a couple of knitting machine items to show you, and I'm just gonna go through these really quick. I grabbed some Hirschner's Holiday yarns, and this was the Halloween yarns. This was one of the Halloween colors, and I think it's kind of cute, and I just made those hats. And what else? This was what I got from one of the skeins of them. So I've got 3 hats here, which I think is a pretty good deal. So I also made 2 scarves. Now I really do like the way these came out. So these are scarves from Loops and Threads, and this is their ombre color that I picked up from Michael's, and I think each skein was like $4. So a very good deal. And I think that they make really pretty scarves. My daughter's always asking for scarves, and I don't really like knitting just plain stockinette scarves. So I think that that's a good application to use the knitting machine for. I use an Addie King. Yes, that's what it's called. The Addie King Circular. I had to think about it for a second. And then this is the second one that I made. So now she has a couple of scarves. Hopefully that will last her throughout the year. Throughout this winter anyways, but we'll see. She's a big fan of scarves and she's always asking me for them. So that's where those came from and why I decided to make them. Okay, now for the hand knitting. Let me see if I have a good picture for this. Because if you guys will remember here we go. No, I can't show you that. You know, it's not going to matter. I am going to talk and I'll put up a picture. So last week, if you watched, you'll remember I talked about how I wanted to do two things, two goals. My first goal was that I wanted to work on my sock arm sweater cardigan. So I did that. But my second goal was that I wanted to work some more on Corbis. Now, if you'll remember, Corbis is a pattern by Natasja Hornsby, and it is a really uniquely constructed sweater. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So I want to read what it says about the construction because I feel like it's going to explain it better than I can. So it says, you will start the sweater with a top-down triangle that will form the center of the upper back. Once the triangle is worked, stitches are cast on for the front neck, after which the yoke is worked in the round until the underarm. Okay, so what I've been working on with this is basically the top-down triangle. Now, you'll recognize this, right? I told you I would use this throughout the year. Now, if you know one thing about Mandy, it's that I love cats and I love cardinals right now. I love all types of birds though, but we'll talk about that later. I've been kind of branching out with what we've put in our bird feeders lately. So anyways, this yarn that I am using is Barocco Modern Linen. So let me see if I can hold this up. Now this yarn is precarious and I don't know how, like, the best way to explain this, so I'm going to use the word precarious. I wholeheartedly recommend that if you get this yarn, you only put one skein with you at a time, because this is just 3 seconds away from falling apart. This is a center cake, a center pull cake, and I wound it using the yarn winder, and I shouldn't have done that. I don't know what I should have done. Do you guys know the yarns that don't like being put into cakes and then they kind of just want to fall apart? What do you do to deal with them? I feel like this would probably work better if I had put it in a ball, possibly, but part of me wants to like put it in a Ziploc bag or like wrap it with saran wrap so it doesn't fall apart. This, I think, would be a good use for one of those yarn sleeves, a yarn cake sleeve. But with all of that said, I had this skein and, well, I have 4 skeins of this to make the Corbis top. And I had them in my bag, and yesterday I pulled it out and they were all tangled. So when you see the ends on my Corbis here, you'll know what happened. I actually had to cut the yarn to get it apart. It was quite the adventure. We'll go with that. I didn't want to like leave it in a knot, so I ended up cutting the yarn at 2 spots, and then I could untangle it easier, and then I basically just knit from that long strand that I cut off. But this is what I have so far, and as you can kind of see that this is the top-down triangle they were talking about for the center back. And I really like how the linen is working up. On the description of this pattern, it says, The design is suitable for a large range of yarns. For a more summery version, choose a silk blend or cotton blend. For a warmer version, wool would be suitable. To ensure a good fit, make sure gauge is met. Yarn amounts are given for the yarn that was used in the sample. So the yarn that was used for this is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. It's 100% silk. So this is 100% linen. I am knitting a size larger than I would normally need, but I also know that this is not going to have much give. So as I've been knitting it, I've been paying attention to my gauge and trying to plot out how big exactly the finished object is going to be and try to figure out if I need to modify it so that way I can do that as I'm knitting it. But I really love the color. I think this color is called Hot Gossip. So obviously when I saw it, since I'm a pink lover, I had to get this color. But this is my first time working from linen. It has been interesting. It reminds me, and I know this is gonna sound bad, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean this in like an FYI informative way. So do you know that twine that you use to like wrap bundles of sticks up? It reminds me of knitting with that. And it's because it's 100% linen. Now, once you take this and wash it, and it gets washed several times, it's going to soften up. But if that would bother you while you're knitting it, it's just good to keep that in mind. I wouldn't consider it rough or hard, but there's no give. It's not like a wool where if you stretched it a little bit, you could actually see it move. If I pulled this, I'm thinking it would break pretty easy. Well, not pretty easily, but you know what I mean. There's not much grab there compared to what I'm used to normally knitting with. But I do love how it's coming out, and I think the design is super interesting. I've been having a good time knitting it, and let's see. The design is composed of lots of charts. So I have worked through basket weave chart A and basket weave chart B. My next instruction basically says we're doing something with the front of the yoke. So we're going to be picking up stitches here. So hopefully I'll get that done and be able to show you next week so that you'll be able to see a little bit more of the sweater shaped. I am going to have like a whole bunch of fun. I really like how this has so much in the way of charts, and the charts are super easy to understand. Once I got the basket weave pattern down, I could glance at the chart and understand what we were going to be doing on each row without needing to keep checking it. It felt very intuitive, and I'm super excited to see how this one's gonna knit up. I believe this is my first pattern from Natasja Hornsby, so I'm hoping that there'll be more to come. It has been quite a fun thing for me to be able to do. So now that was my first goal of last week's knitting. Now my second goal was that I wanted to get the front cast on for my sock arm sweater. So let me see, because I have 1.5 million needles sticking out of this. Now, do you guys know how they say that you should put waste yarn on, you should put stitches and hold them on waste yarn? I find that I don't do that. I find that instead of doing that, I just pick some larger needle sizes that I'm not using and just attach my interchangeables to those instead. So that's why you'll see so many needles sticking out of this. So this is what I've got for the sock arm sweater now. And this is the back. So you guys saw this yesterday. And then this side is the front. So I only have one side of the front done. And I could have done more, but I made a conscious decision that I wanted to work more on the Corbis just to see how it was going to progress. So I knit the right front as far down as it would go. So I believe this is 9 inches. I know that the pattern had told me to knit so many inches, and then I knit an extra 1/2 inch because I am not a big fan of things grabbing me around the underarm. So I don't like when things are tight right there. In fact, I like the exact opposite. I like when I have a lot of room and I can do this and there's nothing constricting. Now, I really like when sleeves are fitted, but I don't like the armhole like snug. I hope that makes sense. But that's why I added the extra 1/2 inch there. I can pick up more stitches, and it'll be my plan to pick up more stitches and then decrease them pretty immediately as I'm knitting the sleeves down. Now, this is a sock arm sweater from Stephanie Latvin, and this is in her book, Knit Happy with Self-Striping Yarn. Now, if you'll take a look at the pictures, it is a cardigan, and the body is solid color, and then the sleeves are the fun part. So the book uses self-striping yarn, and I decided instead of using self-striping yarn, I was going to use a sock pattern. And I was thinking about this, right? You could use any sock pattern you want. Any colorwork sock. You could use any sock stitch pattern. I mean, the amounts of possibilities with this cardigan, I mean any cardigan really, but I like using this one because it has the set-in sleeves right here, and you get the nice sleeve cap, and I really think that the tailored look on this is going to look very good with the Zelda sweater sleeves. Okay. But that was the knitting that I got done this week. And I think that I did pretty well, all things considered. Especially because it's been kind of crazy this week. It has rained a bunch. We had really bad storms on one of the days. Luckily, the power didn't go out. But we've got some smoke from Canada coming in, and it's affecting air quality, all sorts of things. Are you guys dealing with like the weird weather of the summer too? Okay, let me make some room here. I'm gonna move these over because I wanted to show you a couple things. Now, I found this book. Well, I didn't find this book. Sometimes when my husband goes to the store, I will go, "Hi, husband, could you please pick up a knitting or crochet magazine for me?" And he'll be like, "Okay, I'll try." Because to be fair, at the grocery store we go to, they used to have a craft section, and then they got rid of it during the pandemic. And then they kind of brought it back, but they only have like 1 or 2 knitting or crochet magazines like every 6 months. So, if I ask for it more than once every like 6 months, sometimes he doesn't get it because I have it already. So, I wanted to show you this. I thought that this was really pretty. This is a Noro magazine, and I will show you the cover in just 1 second. But the one thing that I love about Noro's designs are their colors. And let me show you, because this this is the magazine. This is Noro Summer Knitting and Crochet Magazine. It's episode 26. And they have, if you're looking for patterns with lace holes, if you knit or you crochet, there's a whole bunch in here. Now, I really like this color scheme. And every time I look at these pictures, it makes me want to go out and get some Noro yarn. Because look, so pretty. I haven't used Noro yarn, so let me tell you a story. A really quick one anyways. There was this pattern in Interweave Crochet, and it was a Noro yarn, and it was the most gorgeous crochet top I've ever seen. And I really wanted to make it, and I had got all of the yarn for it, and the yarn was discontinued. I can't remember what Noro yarn it was, but you know what? I'm going to put a picture up and the pattern information, because I still to this day would really like this top. So I had made this top, and it was too small, I think, or I didn't like the way that I made it. It didn't fit me the way that I envisioned it. So I ended up giving it away. But it's one of those things, right? I'm happy that it found somebody else, but I'm also sad that, you know, it didn't work out for me. But the colors were very much like this. So yeah, it was such a pretty top. It was like a tea, and because of the way Noro's slow color changes are, it went horizontally, and then all of a sudden at the bottom, like, you started doing short rows. I'll put a picture up. You guys can admire it as well. Okay, so I went through my list of all of the pattern choices that people have made, and I grabbed some to talk about today just to let you guys see what other people have picked whenever they win their patterns. And I wanted to show them to you, and I also found one crochet top that was a spotlight debut, so I think that means that the person who posted it, this was their first pattern. But I looked at it and I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. And whenever I get to the crochet top, remember the Noro yarns, because this crochet top specifically would look really cool with one of those slow color changing yarns. But anyways, okay. So the first pattern that I printed out was called the Avenue Tee, and this is by Tori Yu. So this is basically a t-shirt, and I love, like, what am I trying to say? I love, like, just the effortless style that the knit t-shirt has. You can dress this up in so many different ways, and I love how this top just looks. This is a fingering weight pattern. And let's see what else we've got here. It says fingering weight. The Avenue Tee is the hand knit version of that favorite store-bought t-shirt of yours. I love that. I'm a big fan of t-shirts. I've said that before. If I'm not wearing knitwear, I'm wearing t-shirts. So it is what it is. It says the size inclusive pattern is written with 2 neck shaping options, crew and v-neck, and is a top-down contiguous construction that is worked seamlessly to create a fit that mimics satin sleeves. Okay, you know what? This is interesting. So this actually came up. I was talking with a friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine, and we were talking about contiguous sleeves because I had no clue what they were. I've never done that construction before. So I looked it up, and it seems really neat. So satin sleeves are like with my sock arm sweater, where the the sleeves are set in, so it goes in like that with the armhole, and then you can either knit them flat or pick it up and knit the cap like you do with the sock arm sweater. Anyways, that fit gives your shoulder and your arm a really nice kind of tailored look. So with contiguous sleeves, and you guys will have to correct me if I'm wrong, please feel free, let me know down below if I'm saying anything wrong. It's not intentional, I'm just trying to learn. So from what I read, with contiguous sleeves, with that construction, you're basically doing the set-in sleeves, but there's no seam. So you're working the sleeves and the shoulder along with everything else. And I thought that was so cool. So I was really excited to hear about that. And one of my patterns on my queue, my Make 30 list, actually has this construction. So we are going to find out together how it works for me. But yeah, I thought that this was really cool. It says that they also have an Avenue vest. Now, I have never used this designer's patterns before, but let's see. It says it has a finished bust circumference of between 32 inches and 64 inches. That's 81.5 to 162 centimeters. So that's awesome. And like I said, it's basically a knit t-shirt, and what's not to love about that? Okay, let's see what else I've got printed here. Okay, this is Praline by Gudrun Johnston, and this is a sport weight yarn cardigan. And let me see if I can get the pictures up. I thought that this was really sweet too. I have never heard of this pattern before, so that is part of me is really happy whenever one of the reasons I really do like giving away a digital pattern is that people tell me what pattern that they want. They pick a pattern, and then I get to see the pattern and learn about it too. So it says that the gauge for this is 26 stitches and 34 rows, is 4 inches in Little Bird's pattern. It says this vintage inspired V-neck cardigan is worked from the bottom up and uses a simultaneous set and sleeve method to work the sleeves and body as one piece. Most of the construction is seamless, with only very small amount of seaming at the top of the sleeve cap and at the underarms. So I've never heard of a simultaneous set-in sleeve. I'm wondering how it varies from contiguous. But this is also knit bottom up, so that's different in itself as well. I do really, okay, so it says the sizes are between 30 inches and 51.5 inches. So I really do like the stitch pattern that's on this cardigan. Something very timeless and elegant about it. Okay. So the next one is called Adamson, and this is by Rue Yamamuro. And let's see. It uses worsted weight yarn. And it is a very cute vest. This is knit, well, the sample is knit with Woolfolk Taj, I don't know, tag, T-A-G-E. So pronounce that how you will. I've never used it before. You know what though? I must be an oddity. I've never used any Woolfolk yarn, and I've heard so many good things about it, but it feels like whenever I go, well, I don't go in person to knit stores very often, to yarn stores, but whenever I have been to one, they haven't had it. So I would really like to feel it. I would really like to see their different offerings, but I would like to be able to see it in person. Okay, so this is a vest, and it is worsted weight yarn. The gauge is 19 stitches and 26 rows, equal 4 inches in stockinette. So it says you need between 400 and 1100 yards, and it has 10 sizes available. So where's the measurements? So the 10 sizes go from 34.5 to 63 inches, and that would be 87.5 to 160 centimeters. It says it's shown in size 3 with about 5.5 inches or 14.5 centimeters of ease. And it's also shown, okay, so down there it would be shown in size 5 with 8.25 or 21 centimeters. And when I said those words, I'll try to put the matching corresponding pictures up. I thought that this was neat. It says the vest is worked from top down. First the back yoke is worked, then the shoulders, then the front yoke are worked flat. The front and the back are joined to work the body in the round with an eyelet pattern. Neck trim and armhole trims are worked last. Choose the size with 2 to 8 inches or 5 to 20 centimeters of positive ease. So it's a nice, cute summer pattern. I feel like vests are very popular, which is interesting because I've only made a vest once, and it was for my son, right? Because he wears uniforms to school, but one of the things he can wear are vests. So back when he was really, really little, I made him a cabled vest out of Plymouth Encore. He loved that thing. He wore it and wore it and wore it until he couldn't fit it anymore. Okay, this is the next one. This is Cascading Chevron Cardigan. This is by Amanda Pascal, and this is in DK weight yarn. So this is another one I've never seen. This is a very long cardigan with a really pretty like chevron pattern. So it says it's DK weight yarn, 18 stitches and 24 rows is 4 inches, and you need between 900 and 2400 yards. So it goes from extra small to 5XL. It says long open front cardigan with purled chevrons on the main body and cuffs. The cardigan was created from my love of chevrons and my missing of those Rocky Mountains. There you go. So it says the cardigan is designed to lay open and has been built with 3 to 8 inches of positive ease for that extra comfy feel. This looks like a cardigan I would love to wear like in the fall and just keep on for the entire day. Drinking hot cocoa or going like to pick pumpkins or something like that. This feels like one of those cardigans, like an oversized, comfy, cozy one. It says they used Hobie Tivoli Solid. What is that? It says it's 100% acrylic DK yarn. Now, I've used a lot of Hobie yarns, but I have not used Tivoli Solid. I wonder if that's a yarn that has been renamed. Have you guys used that? I haven't. Okay, either way, it looks super oversized and comfy. So if that's what you're looking for, I recommend that one. Okay, I came to the pattern that I found that I wanted to show you guys. Now, this is a crochet pattern, so all of my crocheters out there, if you're interested, I would take a look at this. I mean, it's a new pattern, but the design is super cool. It seems like something that would be amazing to use with like self-striping yarn, long color changes, or variegated yarn, anything. It says the design is worked in crochet linen stitch in 2 parts, starting in the center and worked to half the wearer's actual chest measurements. On the diagonal to make a square. Neck and shoulder shaping are added to one edge. Okay, so let me show you guys pictures. That's another thing I liked about this pattern. So you can make it to any size because you are making it to your specific measurements, and then you're basically working the other side. So it says any yarn can be used. Neck and shoulder shaping are added to one edge. Then the piece is repeated and sewn together at the shoulders and the sides. So I'm putting up pictures to show the side stitching, but I really like how at the seam, like the colors kind of converge if you use it says the suggested yarn that they used for the sample was unique fingering. So, you know, that's a long color changing yarn. Harvest Fingering by Earth. And it also says Summer Solstice Paints by Juniper Moon Farm. So yeah, there's two different samples, and I've put up pictures of both of them. But I thought that this would be fun. It's a crochet top. It's done in fingering weight yarn. It's an interesting design. Now, I mean, you could do something similar in knitting if you wanted to, you know, play around with the design. The Corbis top also kind of works from the center out of a top and then builds from there like this one does. But I really like the idea of having like a modular crochet top, especially one that you can customize as you go along. Now, I know some knitters might disagree with me, but I feel like with crochet, it's a little bit easier for me to be more adventurous. And the only reason I say that is because if I drop like my stitch off my needle or my hook when I'm crocheting, it's no big deal. But like if I do the wrong thing with knitting and 17 stitches drop, I might as well just be like, it's done. It's over. Try again. There's a squirrel climbing up the window. I don't know. But I feel like that color yarn would go very well with that top right there. So it's just my 2 cents. Okay, Mr. Squirrel went away. We have one of those bird feeders that attach to the outside of the window. And that's why I always see birds whenever I'm filming a podcast. But because of that, we also have squirrels that try to get to the bird feeder very unsuccessfully because there's nothing for them to grab onto. So we'll just be sitting here, like we'll look out the window and the bird feeder will be right here. There's a squirrel in the tree and he like jumps and then completely misses the bird feeder. And it's just random stuff that happens throughout the day. Okay, that is it for the knitting and the crocheting and all of the random talk. I've read some interesting books this week, but I started reading one that I really liked that's called Husk. Now, if you are a sci-fi fan like I am, it is about a future world where plague has decimated humanity. So basically post-apocalyptic. Someone has figured out a way to transfer human subconscious subconscious to like the digital world, and that's what they've been doing, but they start to think maybe this isn't the way that this isn't all we think it is. They're very suspicious. There's lots of conspiracy theories going around. So that's pretty much where I am with that book. You know what? If you haven't checked me out on Goodreads, go ahead and do that. I tend to update my Goodreads in spurts. I am very bad at putting books in as I read them. So like once a month or something, I'll just throw in all the books I've read from the last month. So if you do follow me on Goodreads and you notice that I finished like 18 books yesterday, now you know why. It's because, you know, I'm very bad at updating it. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little bit. If you could, please give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. It is August 2nd, so not next week. So not next episode, but the episode after is going to be that giveaway episode. I have reached out to a couple of yarn shops to talk to them about certain things that I had wanted to purchase. They haven't reached back out to me. So what am I trying to say? My second kind of my backup plan is that I am going to reach out. Well, not reach out. I don't have to reach out. I am going to use bigger yarn stores that I know support things like international shipping, because that's what I was asking about. It won't be as special as if I had been able to get those smaller yarn shops that I had really wanted to, you know, support, but it is what it is. I definitely understand it's kind of difficult to do shipping right now with everything going on. So we'll just go for the bigger yarn shops for right now. And I have some fun things planned for that episode. So I hope that you guys watch. Like I said, please leave a comment down below if you want to be entered for next week's giveaway. Okay, thank you guys so much. I'll see you next week. Bye.